power is the ability to take and comprehend subjects that are difficult, synthesize them, simplify them, and systemize them, okay? So that people can grasp them, take them, and work them, okay? And so here's one of the phenomenons that I've always been, it leaves me in awe in this industry is that people will come into this business, right? People that are dissatisfied with a job, they're dissatisfied with the amount of money they're earning, they hate their boss, a multitude of different things, right? And they'll come into this industry and here's a guy making $100,000 a year doing something, right? As an employee for a corporation, comes in here, right? Falls flat on his face, can't get out of his own way. Have you ever seen that happen? Yeah. Right? And it happens even more with people making $50,000 a year, right? They come in. Now, you would think that if you're proficient enough to make $50,000 a year doing X, Y, or Z out there, you should be able to come in here and pretty quickly make $50,000 a year, okay? Because all competencies, all confidence, all skills and abilities are transferable if you know how to other things. So you should be able to get up to speed rather quickly to $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, whatever the case may be. But there's an interesting thing about entrepreneurship. It's kind of a spirit. People that succeed and do well in this business have an entrepreneurial spirit. Entrepreneurs are people that take responsibility and risk for doing something in order to get a reward out of it. That's the definition of an entrepreneur. And so, we have been raised in a culture. How many of you were raised on the key to success is go to school, get a good education, so you can get a good job, right? I mean, we've been trained for that. And so how many of you went to school, got a good education, got a good job, and now you're rich? So that doesn't necessarily equate to rich, right? Or wealth, does it? So here's the interesting thing. Some people can do really, really well as long as they have a floor, a safety net, a fallback position, right? Something that protects them. You know why? Because in our culture, we have been taught to be dependent. Dependent, right? That's why you see so many people with an entitlement mentality. They got their hand out. Pay me and I'll work. Pay me and I'll do. Guess what? That's not how it works here. Do and we'll pay you. Completely the opposite. And so what we've got to develop is that mindset and that spirit that I tell people all the time. I do seminars on personal development, business development, and I tell people all the time, if you don't have a business or some income that is a results-based business, you will never become wealthy. I know a guy who just retired as the president of a major bank, okay? He's done real well. He's made good money, but he's not wealthy, right? And, he can raise money till the cows come home. He can do all kinds of things as long as it's with a fallback. But go out and be an entrepreneur, they can't do it for themselves what they can do for the other guy, right? Because we've been taught to have a dependent mentality. And entrepreneurs have independent thinking. They are self-sufficient. Let's call it self-sufficient. And then the really good ones learn to be interdependent. They learn how to build teams and lead teams, okay? That's the reality of the situation. So, I want to teach you a formula here today that I've put together. I call this the Wealthypreneur Mindset. And wait a second, I forgot. I was going to show you something that I think is kind of funny because, I was born in Cuba, right? And my family left Cuba when Castro came in. But before we left Cuba, my grandfather had migrated from Spain to Cuba as a young boy, 15 years old with a 5th grade education. But because he had this entrepreneurial spirit, he went to work for a wealthy man. He learned from him. That guy took interest in him, became his mentor, and my grandfather eventually became his partner and became a millionaire in Cuba before Castro came and took it all away. Before we left Cuba, my grandfather, who loved horses, grew up on, in the farm, started raising prize stallions. And one day, because I love to draw horses. I loved the horses too, so I would draw them. And as a 4-year-old, I'm drawing horses that look like horses, not like stick figures, right? And my grandfather was the proudest man in the world because of that. So for my 4th birthday, he gave me a prize stallion, a big, white, beautiful prize stallion. And my mom and dad, they dressed me up like a little cowboy, and they put the, the chaps and the spurs and the boots and the hat and the belt and the whole 9 yards. And, and then it's time to ride the horse. My grandfather's up on the horse, all beaming, proud. My dad picks me up, hands me over to my grandfather. He sits me on the horse, and I'm ready to go, ready to ride. I'm so excited. First thing I do is I put the spurs in the horse. Right? So the horse starts bucking and going nuts and everything else, and throws me. My grandfather wasn't ready for that. Throws me in the air. Thank God my dad was young there. Caught me in the air like a football. My mom was fit to be tied, yelling at everybody. And my mom doesn't yell. She was just upset. They took my spurs away, my boots, everything, I was upset, right? And I've told that story for the past 50 years, I don't know how many times. And a couple of years ago, my mom and dad, they're getting old, so we were in Miami visiting them. And I've been interviewing them, right? Trying to get background and to know why I have the fears I have and why I think the way I think and all that. Because a lot of that comes from before you're 6 years old, okay? So I'm sitting there and I go, you know what? Tell me the story of my stallion again. I really want to get all the details because everybody loves that story. And, they look at me and they go like, the what? And I go, yeah, my white stallion, the one my grandfather gave me for my 4th birthday. And they're like, where'd you get that? I'm like, what do you mean, where'd I get that? I mean, they go, do you actually remember that? And I go, well, yeah. I mean, it's the only thing I remember about Cuba. I don't remember anything about Cuba. And my father starts laughing. He goes to the room and comes back and he goes, you know what? The only horse that you ever had, wait a second, is that one right there. All right? And I think what happened is you must have been riding it really hard one day, fell off, hit your head, and then you made up this other story. And I don't know. They said, maybe your grandmother told it to you. I don't know. We couldn't ask her because she'd passed away 15 years before. But anyways, so the point of all that, folks, is this. For 50 years, I'm believing this is the truth. And I'm telling people, this is the truth. Right? And in fact, it's the only thing about Cuba that I remember because I left when I was 4. And it never happened. Now, that's a cute and funny story, right? But you know what the moral of that story is? The moral of that story is, how many beliefs do you have about your limitations and your abilities, what you can and cannot do, that are keeping you where you are, and they are not true? Huh? Because you see, the power, there's an intelligent power in the universe. I call him God. Some people call it by other names. But that intelligent power doesn't make any junk. That intelligent power creates only greatness. And we have the ability within us right now, that means you, to be, do, have, and give anything that you want. The only caveat is, in order to do it, you've got to develop the mindset, the way of thinking, the way of believing, and use the strategies of the person who's already got what you want. Okay? So I want to teach you, and that was us before we left Cuba. Me and my 2 sisters, my mom and dad. We picked up another one along the way in Spain, so before coming to the States. But, I want to get a point across to you today, and there's 3 levels of credibility. Okay, 3 levels of credibility. The first one is called the professional. That's what we want everybody to be. That's where you learn how to contact, how to invite, how to do 3-way calls, how to do all of the mechanics that we do in this business and become really good, really proficient at it to the point that you can do it in your sleep. You become good, you become a professional. Professionals make a good living. They do really well, okay? But they don't get rich. So from there, we want to take you to the level that you become an expert. Now, an expert is somebody who's now mastering, the mindset behind things and the strategy and all that sort of thing. And they're so good that when they talk, people listen, right? And this is an abbreviated presentation I'm giving you here today, so you gotta think fast because I'm talking fast, right? And then the third one is what's called the celebrity expert, right? And the best way to describe that to you is, why do you think athletes and actors and all of these quote-unquote celebrities today are doing commercials? Why are they the advertisers, right? Because people today will listen more to a celebrity than they will to an expert, right? So if you have a celebrity and an expert, right, then people kind of go, whatever they say, right? Why do you listen to the yellow jackets? Why do you listen to the purple jackets and to the, I don't know what other colors there are, like the blue one and the gray one and all that kind of stuff, right? So why do you listen to those people? Because they've become quote-unquote celebrities, if you will, in this business. But I call that a wealthy-preneur mindset. Okay, can you imagine what a wealthy-preneur is, right? A wealthy entrepreneur, right? So it's a conjunction of words. And if you become a wealthy-preneur, people will listen to you because there's a formula that is very, very simple and very easy to understand once you know what it means. And that formula is M plus S plus A equals R. And every single one of us is using that formula right now, but maybe not necessarily to get what we want. See, the R stands for result. The M stands for mindset. The S is strategy. The A is action. So mindset plus strategy plus action